So Tuesday, I decided that I was going to have breakfast when I actually got to New York, and I I carried on where I left off. So I was still in Midtown at this point, and that's when I did Times Square, and I thought, look, I'm going to have to come back in the evening because it was not lit up in the day. So I then went along and I was heading east this time, and I did Grand Central Station, and I did the United Nations, and then coming back from that I did the Empire State Building. That's when I realised two things. Firstly, that the Empire State Building is not as good a lookout place as the World Trade Center, Freedom Tower, and secondly, I was going to have cash flow issues. So there were two observatories in the Empire State Building. One is at the top, which is outside, and one which is even higher than that, and it's inside. And I thought, well, there's no point in doing that, so I'll just go for the one that's, you know, outside, the 86th floor, rather than the 102nd or something like that. So you get off at the 80th because that's where the little museum is, which is pretty pants, and then you sort of go up another elevator to the 86th floor. The view and the outside area is fantastic, but I did find that it wasn't as well run or coordinated. There wasn't, the digital sort of effects were lacking that you had in the One World Observatory. I liked the One World better. And then after that, where did I go then? Oh, I went to, I started walking through that area which is between the two sort of sets of big buildings, Midtown and the downtown area. And I did like Madison Square Park, which is not to be confused with Madison Square Garden, which is the sort of big stadium there. And I looked around Gramercy Park and Union Square Park. You know, I did a few of the little parks in that area before walking back, and by this time it was dark, and so I was able to see Times Square as it should be, sort of at night basically. And that was the end of that day. And I remember I had my McDonald's when I got back from that, because I thought I'd give Burger King a bit of a rest. And then the following day was the Wednesday, and Wednesday was quite a busy day. I got up my usual 9:30 bus in, and I decided then that I was going to sort of walk actually from the Port Authority itself, and I headed south, and I discovered Penn Station and Madison Square Garden, the actual stadium, and then I went to something called the High Line, which is an old railway line which has been converted into a sort of park, and it's sort of above street level. So I didn't walk all of it because it's quite big, but I walked a fair amount of it, maybe a third, and then I decided that I was going to take the tube, and it was time to discover the boroughs. So after many tube changes, I went all the way up, in fact, to the Bronx, which is the borough that's north of the island of Manhattan, and I came out at the big stadium there, and I had my lunch there, and then I got on the tube again, and I headed all the way south, all the way through Manhattan, and got off at the bottom of Manhattan, where the Brooklyn Bridge starts, and you can walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, which I did. All the way across, which is fantastic. It is a transport bridge, but it has a raised wooden walkway that you can walk through. Came off in Cadman Park, and I found the tube station there, and then I went from there to Prospect Park and Great Army Plaza, which are the areas for the big sort of areas in Brooklyn. Now, because I had stopped off on the way back from the Bronx to part of the east side of Central Park, just to do their Grand Army Plaza and the zoo, which was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Not only was it very cheap, but it was absolutely stunning. One of the best parts of Central Park was the zoo, although I didn't spend too long there, but I spent long enough that by the time I got to Brooklyn it was already getting dark, and sadly the Botanic Gardens had already shut. So I saw a bit of the museum there, and then I decided it was time to head back. And for the last time I did my usual trip on the tubes to Times Square, and then walked underneath to the bus terminal and caught the bus out. And you know, that's it. Thursday is a little bit different because I'm flying out on Thursday and I'm not sure what I'm doing at all for that. I don't know whether to go to the airport and leave my bags there if I possibly can, and then travel into New York and come back, or whether I can go there, and if I can't leave my bags anywhere, maybe I should go to Newark, which is a lot closer. I don't know what I'll do, or maybe I'll just have to check out at 11, go to the airport and sit there for about 8 hours before the flight. I don't know. That is yet to be discovered, I'm afraid.